Hi, I'm Mrs. Watt.
Hello, Mr. Fitzgerald.
And together we are going to lead you through the last part of the research project.
The evaluation.
So, what is the evaluation? Well, to start with, one thing you should know is that the evaluation is externally assessed and worth 30%. Now, externally assessed means that when you finish, first your teacher marks it and gives it a score out of 30, and then your teacher will send it to the SACE board and it's marked by a SACE marker and is also given a mark out of 30. And more often than not, those two grades are combined and an average is taken, and that's the grade that you get. Now, one important thing to know is that the SACE markers do not know you, your school, or anything about your project. So you should only include your SACE ID and not your name, and nowhere throughout your evaluation should you make reference to Golden Grove High School, basically. Now, the word count is a maximum of 1,500 words, and included or not included, on top of that you have 150 words summary, so you've got 1,650 words in total to play with. So Mr. Fitzgerald, what is the 150 word summary?
So the summary is probably the most basic and easiest thing you'll do for the evaluation, and it's designed to give the marker who doesn't know who you are or your school or your research project a bit of an idea about what your project is without going into too much detail. So the summary must include a description of your research project, what you were trying to do, what was your question, the processes, how you went about finding out the answers to that question, and the things you found at the end, your key findings. This could be your report, essay, and also the answers to your question.
In your folio, you selected research processes as being appropriate, hopefully. For example, surveys, websites, interviews, trial and error procedures, articles. You might have practiced something or done some experimenting, looked at blogs, journals, books, etc. And now you get to evaluate these. So you're actually evaluating the processes that you used to find your information. Now, the main thing here is that you need to make judgments because all of them were not going to be as effective as each other. So you need to be insightful and specific to your research question. So, for example, the survey helped answer my question by da-da-da-da-da, etc. Basically, you don't recount what you did, but you need to evaluate how well or not well the research processes you used went.
So this is the E1, the evaluation of research processes continued. So in your research, you would have looked at many different sources and research processes. So for your evaluation, you need to evaluate the quality and how those sources were used. So how were they reliable, relevant, credible, or biased, or invalid? And this needs to be specific to the research question. Okay. For example, you may have researched a particular website that was reliable. You need to say why it was reliable or current or valid.
What's really important is that when you're using the words like reliable, relevant, credible, biased, is that you have a good understanding of what they actually mean. So if you are not sure still what those words mean, it would be a good idea to even come into the library to see Mr. Fitzgerald or myself, or don't use them if you're not 100% sure as to what they mean. Hang on. When discussing the processes, it's really also important that you make clear links between the process that you used and its value, as well as how it added to your knowledge and the quality of your outcomes. Okay, so now we're up to E2. So E2 is about evaluating the decisions that you made in response to opportunities or challenges specific to your research processes used. So if you think back in E1 when we talked about what were research processes, and they were such things as like surveys, interviews, websites, blogs, etc.
So what are the challenges and opportunities? What might they mean?
So look back to the last 2.5 terms and think of things that happened during that time when you were trying to find the information to answer your question. Now, did you come across biased points of view, for example? Did you have bad timing of your interviews or surveys? Quite often, students can conduct surveys early on in their research and then, after doing some further investigating, find out that they should have asked different questions. Out of date research is also a problem. So, if you're researching something that's current and you're finding old information, then that could have been a challenge that you had to overcome. The opportunity of, for example, work placement. If you got to go out into the workforce or do something to do with your question that required you to go outside of school, that could be considered an opportunity. Or even action research. So if you actually put something into action, like you tried to kick a football more accurately, then that could be considered action research. Or if you decided that you wanted to see what it was like to become vegan and you actually became vegan for 4 weeks, then that could be considered action research. So, Mr. Fitzgerald, when you do this, there's actually 4 steps that you need to discuss in depth to get that get into that A grade band. And what might they be?
So the first thing that you need to discuss is to actually identify what challenge you are talking about. That's the challenge. It might be about action research. It might be about biased points of view. What is the thing that you had the challenge or the opportunity to evaluate? Describe the action taken. So what did you do in response to that challenge or opportunity? Describe why you chose to do it that way, why you made the most of that opportunity. How did you overcome those challenges or problems that you may have had?
And the 4th point?
Evaluate with examples. So give examples of how it was good, bad, or ugly, the way that you actually overcome or used that opportunity. And was it effective? Did you make the most of that opportunity? Did you successfully overcome that challenge to proceed with your research?
So would you do it again?
Yeah, would you do it again?
Or would you do it differently?
That's good.
So here is just a little example. If you have a look at the diagram on the right, the challenge was to make that Rubik's Cube, or to solve the Rubik's Cube, so all the same colours on all the different faces of the cube. So the challenge was to make all sides of the cube the same colour. Now, what action did I take to do this? I decided to go and purchase the colour and paint each side. Now, why did I decide to do this? The reason why is because it was quick, easy, looked great, and it was coming to the end of my research project, and I didn't have the time to sit and figure out this puzzle. Now, by evaluating, I'm actually talking about whether that was a good decision or not. Now, in hindsight, the paint rubbed off, and that's not how Rubik's Cubes worked. And what I should have probably done is have a look on YouTube and found somebody that could have shown me in a clearer way how to solve this Rubik's Cube, and not just go and buy paint and paint it, because that wasn't a very good idea.
Okay, so the final performance standard that we're looking at for the evaluation is the evaluation of the quality of the research outcome. So what is the quality of your answer to your question? Okay, what are your key findings? How do you know that it is quality? How do you know it's good? Who might read or see or benefit from your outcome? And what could be improved from your outcome? What is missing? So we're basically evaluating the quality. Now, it's okay to say that there isn't the best quality. It's okay to be critical of your own evaluation. Even if you possibly deep down think maybe it is the best thing ever, you can probably find something that you could be critical of.
So I guess, Mr. Fitzgerald, then so it's how well you answered your question, isn't it? So did you answer it to the best of your ability, or was there certain limitations? So So, when you're evaluating the quality of your research outcome or the quality of how well you answered your question, we really want you to be honest and to make judgments of how good, bad, or ugly it was based on how it compares to other research. So, is there similar research on your topic out there, possibly done at a university level? So, that means that yours is not as good as it could be. Maybe you could have had better research processes. So maybe you could have done a survey but chose not to, or you could have gone and interviewed that professor or police officer, but you chose not to, and now you think that it may have benefited your research. Could you have chosen better sources? Also, you need to write about how you or people you know might benefit from the research you did, or the product that you made, or the things that you discovered, and what you now know about your topic. Is this of value to you? Why or why not? And what else could have made your research better? What else do you think you need to know even now you've finished? On a positive, did you produce something new and unique? And how do you know that you did do this? So, Mr. Fitzgerald, on your Cheerly website, I believe you put some resources up to help the students.
Okay, so there's a few different things that you can use, and these are really only guides to help you, because at the end of the day, you're aiming to meet the performance standards. Okay, on there is a planning sheet which gets you to think about some of your key findings, the research processes that you used, and also some of the challenges or opportunities you may have come across. There's also some sentence starters on there which might help you in getting those words that you need at the start to start writing your evaluation.
Your teacher's also got an evaluation handout which goes into a lot more detail, outlining what Mr. Fitzgerald and I spoke about today. The other thing is, if you've listened to this PowerPoint and you're just ready to go, then I suggest you just turn your computers on, do E1 as a heading, and just launch straight into it.
So time to ignore distraction, time to evaluate.
Evaluate! Woohoo! It's due at the end of term 3, and as we said before, this is the last piece of the research project. And now you'll have time to finalise your folio and your outcome so that your teacher can bundle it up and get it all ready to send into SAFE.
Thank you, and good luck.
And goodbye.